All right. On to, oh, yes, Dave Landau. Good. I'm so excited for the Dave Landau story. This was kind of the Dave Landau thing we were all looking for since Crowder came out with the Daily Wire. Remember we made that whole temper tantrum over the Daily Wire offering him $50 million?
Yes.
How?
What a sinful offer.
How dare these pieces of shit offer me $50 million?
Wouldn't you turn that down?
Them. And then Crowder went through the term sheet and he's like, well, you know, that $50 million, I got to pay my staff with that too. Oh, well, before you said that, I thought the $50 million was a great deal, but now that you got to pay 10 people $60,000 a year, I mean, what's the point of even putting on a show at that point?
Oh, yeah. Part-time at most.
I get it, Steven. Fuck that noise. I'd rather retire. Well, everyone was asking, like, what's Dave Landau's role in all this? Like, we haven't heard Dave Landau mentioned, then Hunter. I was going to say Hunter Biden. Then Steven Crowder comes back and he announces, hey, man, I'm going to go on Rumble when it's running. Otherwise, I'll still be on YouTube. He shit on everyone for putting YouTube in his contracts and talking about YouTube because YouTube fucking sucks. I'm going to Rumble. And then you see him every day. He's still on YouTube.
Yep.
Like
you can't let it go. Yeah, that's like 5,000 people watching at a time. He's
still using YouTube. He's still, doing his thing there. And then when Rumble's working, he's over on Rumble, and Rumble's the greatest thing that ever existed. Old hedge my bets Crowder. So there was never any mention of Landau. And I'll say this. If you do a show and you have a falling out with someone and you stop talking and you don't even tell your audience who's, come to love this guy what happened,
there's going to be some questions.
People assume that something went terribly wrong.
Yep.
Because we've always talked, no matter whether it was good, bad, or ugly, we've always talked about the people who have either we've let go or have moved on to something else, whether it's Zach, whether it's Adrian, whether it's Corey, whether it's, who's the...
Mark Allen.
Mark Allen. Everybody. Oz, whatever. Erwer. You always talk about it. When you don't, people assume... Nobody assumes that you're not talking about a guy because you guys just had way too great a conversation and you get along way too well and you're still having barbecues together.
If I were to just disappear off this show and you never talked about it, there would be some questions.
Chances, right? Some people would think you're dead. And that
Actually, probably.
Yeah, and that I had something to do with it. Kind of like, what is it? The Scientology guy, his wife, David Miscavige's wife. Like, she was just seen for the first time in 8 years, and people were like, oh, fuck, we thought she was dead. Well, Dave Landau gave an interview to Michael Malice, and Michael Malice, somehow, I don't know if it was through his closeted gay magic, got Dave Landau to spill the beans about Crowder a little bit. And what I got from this, and I have not seen this whole thing, this is a big chunk we're going to do here. Crowder, what I got from it is super theater kid. Like, the theater kids in school who, it was their life and it was so serious.
It, breathed it.
Yeah, it was like, hey, guys, we got to do it this way and it's got to be. There's a point, I don't know if it's in this clip, but at one point in his interview with Michael Malice, Dave Landau informed the audience that Crowder had a clause in Landau's contract that if he showed up 5 minutes late for the show, building's locked, turn around, go home, you're not getting paid that day.
Really?
5 minutes late.
How often? Shit happens, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty shitty way to be.
For me, in this show, my thing. I have my rules for myself on when I should be here. Yeah. I get down here a half hour before the show starts so I can get everything ready. I'm insane on prep. I'm insane on, kind of knowing where the show's going to go that day. I think if you don't, you're not professional. But as far as the second mic goes, I always say, guys, when you get here, you get here.
Yeah, I come down here a half hour before the show to turn on the computers and the lights and everything.
Yeah.
And then I go get ready and I'm here last second.
Yeah, April's never here before
Well, I live in the house. Why do I need to be sitting here,
Right. So
I've done my part.
But Crowder apparently wanted Landau there either early or within 5 minutes of the start of the show.
Got it.
Which, okay, that in and of itself, wanting that out of your talent, there's nothing wrong with that. But then saying the doors will be locked, like that shitty threat behind it before you've even done anything wrong, That would piss me off. So Dave Landau left Cumia because the grass was greener, Crowder and all that, and, not behind a paywall, more stand-up gigs, this and that. This is such a common story for so many people watching this show right now and just people in general. You made the jump. It looked better. You didn't like what you had. And then it turned out to be a nightmare. And you found out that there is no heaven. There is, there's no perfect scenario, and they've all got their wrinkles. So
ready.
Here we go. Dave Landau talks to Michael Malice about why he left Crowder. Guys, thumbs up in the chat, because by the time we come back to the chat, it will be past 7:30. We want to be over 200. Over 200 in the next 7 minutes. So if you feel like throwing us a thumbs up, please throw us a thumbs up. Also, only 115 away from another successful steel toe week of hitting goals.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very, very much.
In hell.
But you also had some other news. So you're officially have left Louder with Crowder.
I did. I left a while ago. Yeah, a little while ago. I had left. I think we talked that day a bit. I had jury duty, actually, when I was going to go back onto the show. They had offered an NDA that I had turned down. And
now that okay, salvo number one, the NDA. This is Crowder's legendary for these. So Crowder, with all of his employees who have left, makes them sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they won't call him a sociopath and, as ROTC crowned him, Canadian psycho.
Oh, yeah, free speech and all, right?
Yeah, they don't want you talking after you leave because Crowder noticed, in Robots 1 through 3, there was a design flaw where when the robot left Crowder, they started to really hate the son of a bitch. So now with Landau, I guess he was too high up the food chain to have an NDA built into his deal.
Sure.
So he had jury duty. They were going to have him on the show, and they said, okay, will you sign this NDA? And he's like, no. I would like to talk about my experience here because, look at Not Gay Jared. Not Gay Jared is nowhere now. He's on Twitter, and that's it. But he couldn't get on anybody's shows because anybody who would have him on their show would want to talk about one thing.
And he could not.
His time on Crowder, and he couldn't talk about it. So Dave Landau's smart to not sign that NDA because now he can talk about the thing that's going to boost his signal, get him more fans, and get him more people jumping aboard.
Makes him interesting.
He's doing a show on The Blaze now. So that's probably another reason he couldn't really talk about Crowder, because he was negotiating with Glenn Beck. So Glenn Beck lost Steven Crowder, but he gained Landau and one of Crowder's other guys, Quarter Black Stubby or somebody. Crowder's always got wacky names for people.
Stein is there.
So Glenn Beck lost Crowder, but he gained Landau and Crowder guy and Alex Stein, probably paying a fraction of the price to get those two shows.
Better content, I'm sure.
Well, for me.
And he did give me a nice, going away thing, gift. I don't want to get into it, but he
wrote you. It's called severance, Dave.
It's okay.
Comedians don't. The thing about comedians is they don't know how the real workplace works. So when someone hands them a bunch of cash on their way out the door, they feel like they just took part in a drug deal. It's like, no, Dave, this is pretty common when you part ways with a job amicably. They hand you some money. I got some when I quit the radio gig. Not as much as I was owed.
You got severance?
I got not severance. No, they paid me in advance of what they owed me already. So the commission on what I had for the morning show was going to be spread out over 2. And they cut me the one check right up front. But then on the commission for that month, which was going to come the next month, never fucking paid me.
And that was a big chunk of money, so I wouldn't.
That was our agreement. I wouldn't talk about them or say anything about them if they paid me it was like $5 or $6 grand that they owed me.
Right.
And they welched on it. They went back on it, so I started talking shit about them. But anyway, Dave Landau's like, he offered me a nice going away. He didn't give you cocaine, Dave. He gave you severance. It's okay.
It's still but they decided not to have me back on. I decided to leave, and I walked from the show. It was a long time coming, about a year now. It was just through various contract issues, and it's an odd thing because I wanted to address it and we had talked about it a little bit. And you made a very good point to me of like, I could either bring it up or have my story be told for me.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's an interesting thing because everyone's been wondering where the fuck has Dave Landau been?
Yep.
And Dave Landau's been asked about it and he's been radio silent. He wouldn't say anything. And he kind of realized the thing that, because Dave Landau, you can tell, is not a bury everybody kind of guy.
Right.
He's not like go to war, burn bridges type of guy.
He seems too nice.
But he also realizes that what we all realize, if you don't tell people your story, they'll make your story up for you and they'll lie and be sacks of shit about it because they're douchebags.
Good point.
So Dave Landau, finally, Michael Malice told him, he's like, look, dude, if you don't tell this story, people's imaginations run wild and they make shit up. That's why Corey and I, when Corey left, we went on the air and we went, this was the conversation we have, guys. Not much to see here. We're still pals and Corey wants to go try and do his own shit. And then everyone on the internet went, what? No, I wanted to tell the story. And Corey hates Aaron and he's going to wreck the whole thing. And like, no, we still text about MMA and boxing and we're friends and all that shit. No, I hate Corey now. I mean, if you tell your story, it is so easy to trigger an entire group of people. But if you don't tell your story, they get to just make shit up. And then if you're responding after they make the shit up, you look like you're playing defense. So Landau he did this before people could make the story up for him, but like just barely.
Yeah, I think just barely because people already had quite a bit of fan fiction out there.
Well, a lot of people wanted him to. I guarantee the people who wanted him to hate Crowder's guts and want this to be a blow up, they're not satisfied with what they're going to get out of this 12 minutes. But the people who thought that maybe Crowder was a bit of a lunatic and high strung and crazy and not that funny, they're going to be happy about this.
It sucks because I'm never one of those people that wants to go out and kind of, it doesn't feel like narking, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where after what happened, even when I left Anthony's show, there were so many people that drew their
Anthony
own.
Cumia.
Anthony Cumia's show for people that don't know me. I used to be the co-host there.
I don't know. That was unnecessary. If you're watching this, you know Dave Landau.
Yeah, that did seem weird that he had to stop and be like, Cumia.
That's a weird journalist thing he just
all
did.
know.
Yeah, we know who
okay.
Anthony is if we're watching a Dave Landau interview.
He's trying to clarify or something.
So many conclusions were drawn to what actually happened as opposed to what actually happened. And I don't want people to think that there's things that went on behind the scenes that didn't.
Yeah, so just to fill in the blanks, I think a lot of times, and we've all experienced this on social media, I certainly have, when someone doesn't get their story out and there's gaps, the audiences will fill in those gaps for you,
right,
and leap to all sorts of conclusions and just kind of create a narrative that doesn't at all comport to reality.
That is a great point that Michael Malice raises. Usually when internet people make up something about a movie or a show or a musician or anything like that, they say it with all the confidence of a documentarian, but all the intelligence and facts of a retard. And
they have no idea.
You cannot convince them. That's why Dave Landau just kind of said what I said. It's like, if I don't tell the story first, then it looks like I'm coming out after somebody makes up some dumb shit. And once those people make up dumb, retarded shit, you cannot convince them that they're wrong.
Nope, they've made their mind up.
They have made their mind up, and that no matter how stupid it sounds, no matter how the other 90% of people who like or follow Dave Landau go, dude, that's retarded. They're like, nope, that's what I think. Okay.
So a lot of times a lot of times, I don't always do this, but it's important to be like, all right, here's the tea. This is what really happened, and so on and so forth. Do you want to talk a bit about what led up to this decision on your part?
Yeah.
Well, Crowder's a closeted homosexual, and he kept trying to grab my genitals and suck on my cock, and I said, you know what? I just can't work like this anymore.
Wouldn't you love something fun like that?
That would be so. And if he did it that nonchalant, too, if he was just like, well, Crowder kept taking me into a back room and grabbing my cock, and for some reason it was hard, and he kept trying to suck on it, and I kept telling him, no, I have a family, and he said, so do I. This is fine. And the tension and the awkwardness just got to be too much, and I had to leave. And then Michael Malice just does like Charlie Brown blinking eyes. He's bink.
You can hear it.
Bink, 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 bink. He's like, Whoa. I was expecting like a contract thing or creative
that.
difference. He was just trying to suck. Yep, Michael just kept trying to suck my cock, and it made me weird and a little gay. So I decided to.
I didn't like who I felt or how I felt
Yeah.
when I'd leave the studio.
I didn't like the person I was becoming, Michael. It was too much.
It's grimy.
Yes.
I guess the beginning of it was everything was going pretty well at the beginning of the show when I
When
first
did you
signed.
join that show? Let's talk about that.
Okay.
2019,
I
right?
joined the show
2020.
I was first offered February 2001.
Okay. 2001.
2001, before 9/11. Can you believe that?
Barely.
Dave Landau was offered the Crowder. It's obviously a misspeak. Crowder would have been 10 years old, 12 years old. No.
It's the real crime
No,
of the year.
2021.
Okay,
I
yeah.
forget. I'm like,
It was right. We
Boy.
needed to make America laugh because they knew something was on the horizon.
Yes, I joined in my 5th year of high school, which is a fact. Yes, I joined shortly before 9/11.
Yes.
I joined in February 2021 when Anthony, I thought, was going to be moving to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So Stephen.
So
had
wait
made-
a minute. This Dave Landau didn't even make it 2 years with Crowder.
Yeah, it does seem.
Because didn't Crowder tap out on Blaze in like November?
God, the
Yeah.
timeline is getting crazy.
I think it was
huh?
around November. He did
Yeah.
his last show with the Blaze, November, December. So Landau didn't even make it to the 2-year anniversary of him being offered Crowder. And that whole, 2001
good.
thing, it's like, it probably felt that long for him.
an offer to come work for him, and I had been guesting on the show fairly regularly, so I
Yep.
took him up on that offer.
Okay. How did you find it? Let's talk about that. You want to talk about the end? You want to talk about the beginning?
Is anyone getting like divorce court vibes from Michael Malice in
Yes.
this? It was like 2021 is when I was offered the position, and then I went to work for him shortly after that. All right, great. So you are filing a counterclaim for like I'm getting very much like a
He's
what's her name, a Judge Lynn Toller vibe.
seems very like prim and proper about
Yeah.
all of it.
How do you want to talk about this situation?
The beginning was great for a while, it really was. It was a lot of hanging out, collaborating, putting out sketches, doing the things that I was hired for. It's definitely a grind, but that was part of it. The pot was sweetened, so to speak, is what I was offered. It was not this gigantic payday that everybody seemed to think. It was almost no bump, but
You didn't
it
get
was-
$50 million.
no, I didn't get. I got about $1,000 extra a year, but I really
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I got an extra $1,000 a year to leave Kumia. That sounds on its face crazy, especially knowing how this ended up. But in hindsight, you got to think. You're getting out from behind a paywall. You're on YouTube. Millions,
exposure.
millions of people watching, or high hundreds of thousands back then for Crowder. And he can promote your stand-up gigs. Remember, Landau's a stand-up comedian first and foremost. Crowder can promote your stand-up gigs on his show that has 1 million viewers, and you can make more money doing stand-up. You can play bigger venues, bigger houses, more loyal crowd, whatever, versus plugging it on a paywall.
Yep.
So
More eyes.
Landau has more ability to make money on the back end. So Anthony has said before that he paid Landau $100,000 a year to do his show. It's a nice payday.
Very nice.
Crowder gave him $1,000 extra, but it's the stuff on the side. It's the
right.
stuff on
It's the
top
back
of that
end. Yeah.
that sweetens the pot for you.
it's hard to talk about money, but it was, but I knew that it would help on the road. And, he wanted me to be there on more Fridays. And that started being a point of tension because I started making money on the road, and I did say I would be there on more Fridays, but every time I would show up, he wouldn't show up.
Okay.
And I just said, all right, well, I'm just going to
Ouch.
work or go.
That's a dick move because if you're a stand-up comedian, Friday's an important getaway day.
Big day.
I remember when Jimmy would do Opie and Anthony, there would be days where he either wouldn't be there on Friday or he would leave early because he had to catch a flight because he had weekend sets in some other city.
Yep.
So if you're making Dave Landau come in all day and work all day and do sketches and you don't even show up, what an
It's just
asshole.
a dick move. Yeah.
Go and see my son. And, he's in Detroit. And I said, as long as everything was working out, there was a possibility that they could move there.
Yeah. They meaning
Um,
your family.
Yes. So about a year went by, and things had gotten more tense. Like things were more restrictive. For example, I had been more censored as things went on, where I couldn't, for example, say the word "come."
Well, that and
Well-
I understand that one. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Crowder's Mr. Free Speech and say whatever you want on YouTube, but you can't say come." You guys have to understand why Dave Landau wasn't allowed to say come on Crowder. It's because Crowder would start uncontrollably salivating. And if you have this is as a guy
I like
who,
how you start this serious. It's going to be
Yeah.
about professionalism, all that.
I'm a performer. So you have a guy, if you're hosting a show, but your mouth won't stop watering and your co-host keeps saying come and you keep getting like delicious, sweet vibes in your mouth and you're like, like the wolf in the Looney Tunes cartoons who would see a steak and he'd have the fork and the knife and it would be dripping from his tongue.
And your dick's pressing on the desk.
Exactly. So that's Crowder. Like he carved what I heard, this could be untrue.
Okay.
He carved a hole in the desk, and when
Okay.
Landau would say "come," Crowder would just start thrusting upward into the hole in the desk, and he kept getting splinters on his dick, and that's why he told Landau, "Look, man, I'm salivating out of one end, I'm bleeding from slivers on the other end. You have to stop saying the word "come" on the show." Okay.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. So.
He's putting himself through, physical pain.
Do you see now? Do you see why, like, you guys heard that part and you guys were like, oh, that's not fair. Crowder's being unreasonable. But now that I've explained it to you, it makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get dehydrated during a show. And if you're salivating, you're losing moisture.
You're going to have extra medical bills.
Exactly.
It's going to have to come out of Landau's checks.
Right. More time off.
More time off.
You can't have that.
That's why you can't come in on Fridays because
Right.
you had splinter dick.
Of course, Dave Landau couldn't say come around Steven Crowder anymore. It was going to cost them all their jobs.
Exactly.
It makes sense to me. No, but in all seriousness, fuck Crowder. He's an asshole. This is a guy who shit on Daily Wire because, they want to limit my speech because if I can't stay on YouTube, they're going to dock me 20% of my pay. It's like, yeah, imagine that. If they can't get the revenue from your show, they want it to come out of the show's pocket. That's really weird. But Mr. Free Speech, and we should say whatever we want. And fuck Big Tech. Remember, fuck Big Tech. We're going to say
do.
whatever we want. If YouTube wants to ban us, ban us. Dave Landau can't say come. Don't say come, Dave.
No cum for you.
No come. Keep that shit inside your body and out of my mouth where I want it.
Okay.
Like ejaculate. I
Right.
forgot when I made the joke that was offensive or whatever it was.
You could
about.
only eat it. You couldn't say it's going to go in your mouth, not come out of your mouth.
I could eat it with a spoon, or I could say "yummy yum yums" when referring to it, but I could never actually say.
I could eat it with a fork. I could eat it on a ship. I can't finish the rhyme, but you get me.
I could call.
I like it when Michael Malice digs deep into the funny well and realizes he doesn't
Yeah.
have anything in the inventory. And he goes, I'm going to go back to being straight man interviewer now.
Right?
There's a self-awareness about Michael Malice that I find endearing.
It is kind of cute.
You know,
in a
he's
way.
like, I can eat it with a spork. I can eat it with a spoon. I can. Oh, shit, I forgot. I'm not funny. Anyway, back to the interview.
I'm red now.
There's a lot of people who try to be funny when they're not, like hosting a show, especially when they have a comedian on. They want to show them their chops. I like that Michael's like, fuck it. I can't rhyme words. It's
This is your job, Dave.
very basic shit, and I can't pull it off. Fuck it.
refer to. I could go, those are nice gutters you have, but I couldn't say that I had the
They're
gutters.
vascular. I'm
Yeah.
very pleased with them these days.
Yeah. Are you still there?
They're
I hope-
back. Yeah.
Good for you. I
Thank
don't
you.
have cum gutters at all.
Shh, don't say that.
Well, I just don't. I'm sorry. I
You're not allowed
forgot,
to use that word in this show.
I forgot about the email you sent me.
No, you're not allowed to use the
Oh,
word gutters. Any reference to manual labor is verboten.
I'm sorry. I don't have the cum.
I'm glad, Crowder's really smart to let this guy go. Crowder doesn't need that raunchy, edgy humor to
No.
attract a younger audience.
I
That would
don't
be
think so.
terrible.
And then, it became a little weird because a light was put in where.
Oh,
it
this.
was-
Okay, guys,
Whoa.
get ready for the fucking light.
I'm ready.
I want people to guess. If you haven't seen this yet, Crowder put a light in.
Yep.
April, what does the light mean that Crowder put in?
it means that Dave said something he wasn't supposed to, or quiet, or something like that.
Now, April, doesn't that sound a little sociopathic and a little control freakish and a little
Yes.
outside of the realm of performance?
Absolutely, when you hired somebody to be part of your show.
Now, if you're a comedic genius like Steven Crowder, who likes to have openness and free speech and all of these other things, why would you install a light that limits someone else's expression?
So you're in control.
How dare you? I bet you're so wrong.
It became a little weird because a light was put in where it was his rant button. And it was basically a Dave don't talk button.
Wait,
Oh, it
so
was a quiet
there's
button.
literally a light bulb? What color was the light bulb?
There was 4 lights in a row.
There were
And when
3
it-
lights.
I'm serious. And when it was hit, I wasn't supposed to talk. And they
Do you
said,
remember, was it like a regular colored light bulb, or was it like red?
it was like a yellow,
Okay.
a pretty bright yellow. Like a,
Okay.
So incandescent, Crowder's bad for the environment.
Yeah.
So there's a shut the fuck up Dave button because Crowder wants to go on a rant. And I guarantee you it's because he thought this rant was so good they could isolate it and make it go viral, and Crowder would have a big I'm telling it like it is, man moment. And I don't want this cut
No.
up Dave Landau fucking up my genius takes.
Well, I'm sure if Dave Landau were to speak and let alone say the word come, he'd throw Crowder off of his rant.
Could you imagine
Oh.
Dave says come in the middle of one of Crowder's pronoun rants? Oh my God, it would be
Pronoun rant.
terrible.
Yeah.
When you have a vibe or you have a chemistry with your co-host, you guys know when someone wants to take the stick for a while. You know when someone wants to go on a little bit of a rant. Now, first of all, you don't let your co-host or the host even go on a 4 or 5 minute solo thing. Then what the fuck is that other person even sitting there for?
Right. I was going to say the person that sits in my seat on this show, whether it's me or Johnny or a guest, like we're supposed to keep you going.
Right.
Keep it going.
So
Throw something in there. I don't know.
He's sitting there going, now, first of all, Crowder can go on a good rant and Dave Landau can inject something funny into it, and you can still use it as a solo clip. You can still use it as a viral thing that goes out there. He doesn't want Dave or anyone else having any part of Crowder's glory in the big rant he's doing. This cult of personality sociopath fuckbag wanted to have all, hey guys, I'm planning on really cutting this one out. So there's the Dave shut the fuck up button.
You know what's bad about that for business too, though, is that when you hire somebody like Dave Landau to be part of your show, you're going to want your audience to enjoy that person too.
Yeah.
So why would you cut him out of some of the best stuff?
Not only that, like imagine this is Dave Landau, who was a relative nobody compared to Crowder. When Crowder scooped him up, he was Anthony's second mic on Compound Media, and they had an audience and people love him. I mean, look, when it comes to all this shit that goes down on YouTube, you put Anthony Cumia's name on it, it gets more views than anybody's.
Oh, immediately.
You know, so Anthony Cumia's still got a very loyal following out there, but it's nothing like what Crowder's is right now. And if a nobody, relative nobody, I'm not saying that as an insult to Dave, seems like a good guy, love to have him on the show.
He does seem nice.
If a relative nobody like Dave doesn't like the light thing, imagine if Crowder tries to get like one of his guys that he's hired now, like Nick DiPaolo, and he gives Nick DiPaolo a shut the fuck up Nick DiPaolo light. Yeah, that ain't gonna fly.
I would kind of hope Nick DiPaolo would walk out on that.
No, a guy like Nick DiPaolo.
You're going to tell me to be quiet now?
A guy like DiPaolo would purposely talk over the Nick shut the fuck up light.
Which eventually would end in him leaving because Crowder
Crowder
going to throw a
wouldn't-
bitch fit.
He wouldn't be able to handle that.
Right.
Like yield.
So it's like off camera, but in your eyesight.
Yes. And
Would he be the one pressing the button, or was there a producer pressing the button?
he would press it.
So like Mr. Burns, like he had a button under his desk or the table, and when it's Steven's turn to talk and Dave needs to shut the F up, he presses this button.
Yes.
How do I
Wow.
get this to happen? Because frankly, we're at 13 minutes in and you're already on my last nerve. This is with Michael Malice.
Aren't you
That
hitting
would
it
be-
now? Oh, that's just Zoom doing it. He He had that. Well, and then I was told that he's like, well, that was always there. And I'm like, no, I would have noticed the light. And been told about it.
Yeah, I would have noticed the shut the fuck up Dave light.
Absolutely. He said what? There was like 4 light bulbs in a row.
Yeah, I would have known. Yeah, I don't. One day you come into work and there's 4 light bulbs in front of your face that weren't there yesterday. You ain't gonna convince me that that was always there. And second of all, as if that's a defense for having a shut the fuck up button for your co-host.
Would you like to get like a stoplight installed there right in front of the desk here? And
No.
you can let us know when we're supposed to be talking and at what level.
The less I talk, especially on a Friday, the better. We're cruising. We're
What?
coasting. Yeah. By the way, did we get to that 200 by 7:30? Oh my God, it's 7:48 already. Guys, hit the like button. Shoot this thing up to 300 by the top of the hour. I'm getting greedy now. We never hit 300 by 8 o'clock. Keep fingering the thumbs up button and being a dirty scoundrel. We're also pushing 9,500 subs, so be sure to hit subscribe and share the show as well. We've got a very good one today. This is my big one. This is my favorite thing we have today. But we got a lot more coming as well.
That's
Folks, you know how ExpressVPN.
Hey, what the?
and you're like, I know it wasn't there. So
Wait, so how were you informed that there is a Don't Talk light, and what was your reaction?
I was pissed a bit because I know my job. I
Right.
know that he talks a lot. I know that he's the star of the show. I know when to throw him what he needs to be thrown. I know when to sit back. It's what I did with Anthony for
Right.
years. It's what I did next to Artie. It's what it's what I do. I'm not trying to ever steamroll him.
Right.
It-
Wait,
it-
so I'm sorry, part of your contract, a
Mhm.
proposed contract, was that your family has to be moved across state lines.
Correct.
Okay, now wait a minute.
Whoa.
I will. No, I'm going to defend Crowder on that. That's a thing in radio too.
I guess so you're not elsewhere mentally.
Yeah, so you're there, you're dependable. If they
I
need you, you can
understand.
be there. That is not an uncommon thing.
I understand that part of it, but then if somebody's willing to move their family across state lines and does that for you, don't be such a dickbag to them on your show.
Well, yeah, and that's the point of this whole thing. Crowder can't help himself. He's a dickbag. Crowder sees Crowder, and everyone else is an NPC.
I can't imagine how pretentious or more pretentious all of us second mics would think you were if you had a don't talk light.
Oh,
Because I think if Johnny and I do anything really well, it's we do know when to shut the fuck up and get out of your way, and
Yeah.
then we throw you everything else you need. That's pretty obvious.
the reason Crowder keeps losing people, and then they keep hating him after he leaves, like his quarter black Bob or whatever. I think it's Jared or Garrett or one of the two. I don't want to say the guy's wrong name, so I'll purposely fuck it up. But his quarter black whatever is now doing a show with Dave Landau on The Blaze, the place where Crowder named as one of the like public enemies #1. This shows that Crowder sees things one way
Yes.
and does not give a shit how the staff sees it. There's a lot of things we've changed on this show because Corey, Johnny, April, or someone else was like, I'm not good at this shit. I don't like this particular thing, or I don't get into this. I don't know anything about this. So I go, okay, on their days, we play to their strengths, and you consider what the second mics are good at, and you do this. Corey didn't like this type of stuff.
Right.
So we wouldn't do this type of stuff. Johnny maybe doesn't like as much of the kind of TMZ pop culture. Not that he can't do it, but it's not his bag as much as it is April's, so we do more of that stuff on there. And I, luckily, as the host, am kind of into everything. Like, even if I don't know what something is or who something is, I will go find out who they are to enjoy the thing. Like, I went and found out who the rapper Designer was yesterday because he pulled his cock out on a plane.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
That's the only thing you should be known for, by the way.
and I'm like, you know what? Guy pulls his cock out on a plane. The least I can do for a show is do the legwork to find out who the fuck this guy is.
And I've been blessed enough to learn from you where, like, whatever thing you bring me that day that you think is interesting, I kind of can find interesting.
I'll say this. If
So-
you do this, if you want to do this for a living, here's a good tip. Don't ever let me catch you saying the words, I don't care about that.
That
You-
is.
You want to do a talk show, you fucking care about everything. Now all of a sudden, if your world is a talk show and topics and everything else, you care about everything now. Everything interests you. Otherwise, you're going to end up with, again, one of those shows that just sits there and does the same fucking thing every day, and you got yourself a show for 3 months, you get bored, and you quit, and you go do something else. If you're going to do a talk show and you're going to entertain people, you got to be able to juggle. And I mean, this is the only show. It's embarrassing. I mean, outside of ROTC, it's hard to watch on like YouTube and Rumble. This is the only show that knows how to juggle.
I do.
You know?
I actually appreciate that we do a show that has basically everything covered, because I wouldn't know about a lot of this shit if you didn't bring it to me. It's interesting.
So Crowder has a shut the fuck up button. Then in the contract, he tells Landau, you have to move your family here. That's not uncommon in the radio business. However, there's usually a little something in there to move your family. There's usually a little, hey, we'll pay you this much extra, but the terms are you have to bring your family here. It's not, hey, we're going to pay you $1,000 a year more than Cumia, and you move your fucking wife, and you take your kids out of their school, you take your wife away from her friends, you move them to a different state, from Michigan to Texas. That's just part of the deal.
You're moving away from your extended family?
Yeah.
It's crazy, yeah.
Including your kid. You have a son. How old's your son?
8, 7
Okay.
at the time.
Okay. So pull him out of school during
Yeah.
the school year, and he's coming to Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Dave is here every week unless he notifies us well in advance for a show, just like a doctor's appointment. Can't be gone any more than every third weekend.
No, wait. So
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey, April.
Yeah,
Correct. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. I want you to think back a few months.
I will.
Was one of Crowder's objections to the Daily Wire deal not the fact that they told him how many days he had to be there and do a show?
Sure was.
Was one of Crowder's objections to the Daily Wire deal that if he didn't show up for as many days as they said, which was like 4 days a week?
Not bad, right?
Not bad at
Not
all.
bad.
Did they not say they would dock him pay if he did not show up that many days?
For every miss.
Again, April, I need you to check me on this because I don't remember so good no more because I'm older.
I'm waiting.
Did he not bitch to high heaven and make like a 1-hour video complaining like a girl with sand in her cunt about this particular issue?
Oh, God, just seething. Went into the studio alone just to make sure he made this video to complain.
And now, my final point, did he do the same thing to Dave Landau?
Mm-hmm.
Did he offer Dave Landau $50 million fucking dollars to do that?
No, sir.
How much more did he offer Dave Landau than he was making with Cumia?
$1,000.
$1,000 a year.
A year.
People can't like this guy anymore. It's amazing to me that
hypocrite.
I'm glad people like him because it's a good like psychology thing to kind of watch. Amateur psychology. Like, how can you hear this shit and still like this guy? Although, in fairness, they probably just don't listen to it. And they go, I want to like Crowder. I don't want my fucking, politics and my entertainment shook up. So just, fuck Dave Landau. I'm not watching this shit anymore. But I don't know how you can hear this and go, Crowder is such a noble, consistent fighter for the rights of, he bitched about everything. He got a taste of his own medicine with that Daily Wire deal.
Yep.
Don't say this, don't say that. We'll dock you, be here this many days, or we'll dock you. He never told us that he had Dave Landau doing the same thing. Wow, what an asshole.
And I do suppose that he didn't think that would ever come out either, because his plan was to get Dave to sign an NDA.
To sign an NDA. By the way, this is going to fuck everyone who wants to work with Crowder from now on, because you're signing that NDA day one now.
Oh, yeah. That's been done.
This motherfucker had everybody throwing him money. Not me. Like, we called this stuff. Like, everything Dave Landau's saying was stuff that we said was probably the case. That, the fight big con thing was bullshit. He's doing the same thing it's almost like when it's your millions of dollars on the line, you want a little say in how the product gets produced.
Absolutely.
So if Daily Wire's throwing $50 million at you, they want a little say about how you're going to work. That's part of the deal. It's called golden handcuffs. They give you $50 million. There's a reason they call it selling out. You get a fuckload of money.
A lot, yeah.
But they get your soul.
So let's break this down also. Steven has started touring as a comedian.
Yes.
Steven is no dummy. Steven is very well aware that you and every comic, weekends are when you tour, hit the road, you make the money. So he is very clearly taking that secondary or even primary, possibly at this point, source of income from you, because you're just going to be sitting in Dallas for no reason, because it's not like you're doing shows on the weekends with the crowd.
Do you think, and this is going to come off as very naive and people are going to yell, of course, Aaron, you fucking idiot. Do you think Crowder gets jealous of the people he works with when people start liking them?
Yes. Absolutely. That's why like he's got the no talk buttons because no, I want to be the only one in this clip and stuff like that.
Imagine.
Yes.
And I have a healthy ego. I can't imagine someone helping your show, making it more popular, and you're mad at that. You know, I will give Opie credit for this. Opie taught me something about radio years ago. Who gives a shit who's being funny in the studio? Your name's on the wall. You're getting credit.
Yep.
It's your guy doing it. You know, do you think Opie and Anthony cared if Bill Burr came in and fucking crushed and people loved Bill Burr or Louis C.K. or Patrice O'Neill or Colin Quinn? No. Because at the end of the day, what was the show they were listening to? And they're going to tell their friends who was funny on it. The Opie and Anthony show.
Opie and Anthony.
Crowder. Why else do you all of a sudden start making Landau come in on Fridays if you're not a little upset that his stand-up's going well or that people are starting to like Dave Landau? And
well,
I don't get it. Like for Crowder, why wouldn't they like Landau more than you? That's not even an insult. For example, why wouldn't people like April more than me? She's a more likable person. I'm a lightning rod. I'm a host. I'm arrogant. I'm a bloviator. I'm a dick.
You're a loudmouth.
I'm a loudmouth. I talk a lot of shit. Why wouldn't they like her more than me? That's fine. People like the show. It's a totality kind of a thing. And if Dave Landau's getting more popular doing stand-up and you want to put the kibosh on him, no better way than to make him work on a Friday. So forgive me. It seems a little too convenient for it to be an accident.
That is no good, though, because if Dave is the more likable one on Louder with Crowder and he's going out touring and stuff and people go see him, he's going to be talking about the fact that he's on that show. He's going to be promoting that.
They're going to be introducing him as the co-host of Louder with Crowder.
Yes. And then more people are going to start watching because of Dave. Who cares if it's because of Dave or Steve?
This would be like if I told you, hey, April, we're moving members only shows to 8 to 9 o'clock. And April goes like, well, I can't, they're asking me to be on Simpcast more and more.
Sure.
And that starts at 8 o'clock. So starting our members only for, 200-300 people at a time at 8 o'clock, that kind of gets in the way of me doing Simpcast for 1,200 to 2,000 people at a time at 8 o'clock. And me going, so your commitment is to here. Here's what that's going to do. It's going to fuck your brand over because you don't get to promote in front of a different audience. And it's going to create resentment amongst your employees. So great job, Crowder. There is no upside to stopping Dave from doing stand-up other than your ego gets salved.
Can you imagine if I got pissy and went on a rant or something every time you went on a show and I didn't?
Yeah.
You should be the one on the shows. And I get excited when you do go on other people's shows because that means our show is getting seen by other people.
And now we're doing Compound Media now, and we're basically on a do an episode whenever you want basis with Compound Media, which is great. People are enjoying our shows there. That's awesome. Go subscribe to Compound. Bobby Tamburo, that little shit, took a little shot at us yesterday on Compound. I didn't know we were in a competition with Bobby for a spot. I had no idea. He had a new special, and he goes, don't go to extras, then you don't have to go through Steel Toe.
Don't have to deal with them.
You son of a bitch. I hope there aren't people who hear shit like that and think, oh, they're really shitting on me. I don't think you could have been more tongue-in-cheek than Bobby was yesterday. It was such a quick little in and out.
I know. I looked at the phone, and I'm like, oh, that little
I'm like,
little
that
fucker.
little fucker.
Right. And gone every other third weekends means every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then writes for show every day.
I'm sorry. I just want to break this down. Was it ever said to you or intimated to you that your touring is affecting somehow your performance or writing for the main show?
That's a yes.
Wouldn't
I'm sorry.
it make it better, though, like we just discussed?
But that's a yes. And that's an I don't want to say yes because this is a divorce court thing. I don't want to say yes because it hurts my case. Like Dave was falling asleep or Dave was, late on Mondays or something like that. But he's doing stand-up. He's helping the show.
But yes, he's helping, though. So what, he's a little sleepy.
Oh, my writing? No. They felt that I had nodded off a few times, which really only happened maybe once or twice on a Monday because of like a delayed flight.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Tough shit.
How about fuck Steven Crowder for making you come in on a Monday when you had a delayed flight? If you were off doing something, or Johnny called me and goes, man, my fucking flight's late, I go, that's fine. We'll either get April, or I'll do the show by myself, or we'll book a guest.
That's what we do here, actually.
Right.
Like when people can't make it in, we fill in. We have fill-ins.
And it would stand to reason. Now, I think I'm a better host and a funnier guy than Steven Crowder. That's fine. Everyone's got their own tastes. But if I, a guy megatons smaller than Steven Crowder, can do that and do a show comfortably and do a good show, then fuck him. He can do the same thing.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to. He needs things his way.
Again, I'm telling you, this Crowder smacks of theater kid. Guys, this is a serious production, and it has to be blocked off, and it has to be this, and it has to be here, and don't move my floor stickers 1 inch over or it fucks up the whole thing. That is the antithesis of comedy. That is the antithesis of funny. It's the antithesis of spontaneity, which is the antithesis of a talk show. If you keep telling people they can't say come, or they have to be there at this time or we're locking the doors, or if you're going to work with stand-up comics, you know what's built into that cake?
Them traveling.
And
doing
they're
stand-up comedy.
going to be fucking late and undependable.
Okay.
Stand-up comedians are late and undependable. Always have been, always will be. I've never worked with one who wasn't. They're always time. I'm a time guy. I learned a long time ago. I'll hold myself accountable for my standard, which is if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. I hold myself to that. Everyone else, fuck it. I got a show to do. They'll show up when they show up. I'll be fine. But I know I have to have my ass in this seat a half hour before the show starts so I can just get used to it, relax, get ready, give them a show.
Hold on. So Crowder's got to have this don't talk button because I'm on a big rant, but he can't get a text from Landau saying, hey, could I get a couple hours of sleep quick and then come in for like the second half of the show or something? So you can rant by yourself while he's in studio with you, but you can't rant alone until he gets there.
So this passive-aggressive Canuck cunt saw Dave Landau nod off once or twice because of a connecting flight that got delayed. Mm-hmm. And so then he started making him come in on Fridays as a passive-aggressive way to stop him from doing stand-up.
Well, now you're smothering your guy. You're smothering the show.
And you didn't make him sign an NDA, stupid.
That's my opinion. I don't care. Like, like Anthony never would have cared.
Anthony had Artie Lang as a fucking co-host who wouldn't show up some days because he was high as a kite on heroin.
And when he did show up,
he was bleeding from the nose and he was falling asleep and he was no disrespect to Artie.
Yeah.
And also when he would talk would fucking kill it on the show. He was very funny. Artie hobbled with 2 engines blown out, smoking black smoke behind him, leaky nose, was still a hilarious co-host.
That Chris Hansen clip is one of the most funny things I've ever seen.
I also started watching the Joe Matarese saga of Compound Media.
Okay.
Where Artie's shitting on him. Oh, God damn, Artie's so funny. Yeah. So funny.
Really funny.
He was so full. Like Anthony would promote my stand-up where I don't even think I would really have to.
Okay.
That's how, even when you look back at the Opie and Anthony days, that's how everybody was making money.
Right. But at the same time, it's also
the Stern days too. Like Artie would say, shit, I made sometimes in a year made more on stand-up than I did on Stern because the gigs were so crazy. I could play Atlantic City. I could play all these big venues and make all this money because if I just mentioned it once on Stern, it went out to, 10 million people and I could sell the gig out right away.
Like if you're going to be up at 7 or what o'clock, you have to be there at 7. You're not exactly going to be all chipper. It's not like you're.
No, and I'm writing on the plane too.
Yeah,
and so I'm always working. Like there's not one assignment that I didn't turn in, and I have every screen grab to do that. There's nothing that I ever.
In fact, you're writing a lot of sketches that just didn't even get greenlit, so you're doing extra work in addition to what did get greenlit.
Oh yeah, that's the next part, which is writes for show every day in the form of sketches, in studio bits, pulling from previous sketches, previous show ideas, and that can be turned into sketches. So that's just busy work.
Yeah. So it seems like Crowder rewards people for being successful and doing a good job on their show by trying to bury them in busy work.
Yes, it seems like Crowder always needs a hand in what they're doing. They always need to be thinking about Crowder and how to do
need-
things for Crowder.
And he needs to throttle them down when, their engines get a little too hot,
Sure.
That I did every day just for the sake of busy work, which I'll be honest, I hate. It seems so pointless for a show to do, but it's his show. But it's like, why don't we make the best show we can do instead? That's why I think SNL just comes off like it's written by the CIA, because you're just throwing 5 billion things at the wall instead of going, let's take these 7 things and master it.
Yeah.
That's something that tells you Crowder's not a comedic performer, that he's kind of a hack, because he doesn't understand that. When you have these creative types, you can't burn them out on busy work. You have to let them focus on what they're good at and let them produce from that well. You can't have them doing 6, 7, 8, 9 different things. They're creative. It takes a lot of their RAM up. A lot of their memory is in that creativity. That's why they don't work traditional jobs, and they work next to empty pizza boxes with no shirt collar. And, it's because they've got to be in a relaxed, comfortable place to give you the gold that you're getting. When you start burying them in busy work and start getting resentful that they're popular and you start burying them in horseshit, you're going to get a worse product. But Crowder doesn't care. He'd rather have Landau produce a worse product and not get closer to Crowder in terms of popularity than have Landau produce great work for him. But God forbid people might go on the road and go, oh, I like Landau just as much as I like you.
But that'd be good for your show, Steven.
You would think.
We've talked about this before, too, where I think Crowder gets really jealous, too, like when people like Dave are funny and he's not, because he always kind of LARPs being funny. Like he wants to be, but he also wants to be that tough guy that fights for everything. And
we theater kid,
he needs to pick one.
Right.
He needs to either be funny or you need to be somebody who just fights for everything.
Yeah, he's a theater kid.
And so you could be a straight man. Let him be funny.
Look at the people who just don't say come. And don't talk when the light's on.
Come's not funny.
Yeah, don't talk when the light's on either. But look at Matt Walsh, look at Ben Shapiro. They chose, fighting for causes.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are tragically unfunny.
Right, but
terrible. But the people who love that fighting for shit and taking it seriously, they love those two.
And while I might not like that type of show, Crowder would be great at that if he would just stick to it. He's not that doing the 300 skit type of guy. That's not good.
I want to disagree with you. No, it's not good. You're right about that. I think he is that kind of guy. He's the theater kid. He's just bad at it. That's why I say he's not that guy. But he is that guy. He wants to make dog shit sketches. He thinks he is the belle of the ball. That's why Dave Landau can't say come.
Well, then and James Corden should both head off to Broadway.
I agree. Or fuck. One of the two. I think they both want it. But that's why Dave Landau, that's the theme that we're following here, is that Crowder knows he's not the funny guy, but he wants to be the funny guy. You don't have to throttle down other funny people. If you're good, you'll shine through. He has to throttle down Landau's stand-up. He has to throttle down the content Landau can provide. He has to keep Landau busy. I'm surprised that Dave Landau's being as nice as he is about this, because this is a shitty deal.
He comes off as like a genuinely nice dude.
Yeah.
And I think he has probably a hard time being shitty.
I just feel like whenever we would do that, like whenever I would host the show and we would put together a sketch that morning, it would look really good, at least for what I wanted, because we were focusing on one thing, not trying to make 3,000 things and then going, well, this half-ass one should work.
Yeah.
Now, man, granted, he has millions and millions of followers, but his show was once that first idea, not just throwing everything just to have busy work, to look like a hard worker.
Yeah.
He was a hard worker. Now it's an illusion,
Ooh.
The next thing is he's ready to start his own show his own Friday show by October 14th. So now I have a show every Friday for no extra money.
No extra money. You're going to make Landau do another show, and then he can't do stand-up. And he can't see his family.
He's supposed to be making much more money on the weekends doing his own shit.
Fucking prick.
On Fridays.
Let's break this down. So you are going to have your own show, which is a plus.
Yes.
But you're not getting paid a single dime to host your own new show on his network or his platform.
Correct.
And in fact, it's costing you money because now you can't be out, doing 2 shows a Friday night in Tacoma or whoever the hell cares, some other city.
Right.
Okay.
So then
I've never heard of that. I'm sorry. I've never
Yeah,
heard of someone
that's
saying,
insane.
I'm giving you your own show. You're not getting paid for it. I
He's
don't
smothering
understand
him.
Yeah.
Right. It was, well, it's control, and that was kind of what bothered me. It was the I own you aspect. And then the hours.
But that's the thing. If you're doing your own show, they're making money from ad sales or at the very least adding value to the network because now there's more content and you're not seeing a cent of that.
Right. And that was sort of...
It was designed to make him think he was getting something prestigious, but really Crowder didn't want him going and doing stand-up.
Oh, you've got your own show. How cool is that? Oh, cool. Am I getting a bump for it? No.
Dave Landau made better sketches. Dave Landau was a funnier stand-up. All Crowder had was he could host a show better than Dave Landau. That wasn't enough for him. He had to put in the light. Crowder's insecurity screams into every decision he made with Dave Landau.
Well, it was before where it was we're going to sweeten the pot, and that didn't happen.
Right.
But it did happen in the sense of road dates.
Okay, right.
So I didn't complain, but then I can't do road dates unless he's on them now.
Right.
So basically I have to give up my stand-up career.
Right.
And that's the end of the clip.
Oh, dear. Dear God.
He saved a nice little nugget there for the end, boy, didn't he?
That is not cool. I couldn't do road dates unless he was on them.
He was on them. Fuck.
That is FOMO. That is needing to be the belle of the ball. That is you can't have fun without me.
That is a lot of different shit.
That is major insecurity.
Woo. $5 from King Kong Dong says, Aaron, you okay? Your voice sounds like it got the 12 cock brigade. Well, I was doing a Crowder segment, so I wanted to method act.
Yeah, leave us alone.
Yeah.
What we do in our personal time is personal.
And yeah, John Domingo points out Cumia is having Dave on Monday. That will be appointment viewing.
God, I can't wait.
That will be appointment viewing. Landau with Cumia. And if Cumia, I don't know what the sub base is. I don't know what the money's like over at Compound. I don't care. If they can bring Dave Landau back at his old salary, Cumia's getting a hell of a deal.
Yeah, he is. But then what happens to his Blaze show? Can he do both?
That's just it. Probably not. Jared with 350 says, thanks for saying I'm not gay, Aaron. It feels great knowing that I'm not. Oh, I'm sorry. Different Jared. But no, I don't believe you're a homosexual as well.
Not gay, Jared.
Yes, I'm sorry. John in SLP says, Aaron has a light, but it is a vibrator. He has it in his own ass and presses the button way too much. I mean...
You're a fan of vibrating panties?
Yeah, I mean, look,
you
leave me alone. You do your stuff the way you want to do it. I'll do my show the way I want to do it. Thank you very much. All right, guys, 105 away from today's goal. Wonderful, awesome to have you. Just 105 from making it a successful week. And then we tack on another half hour to the end of the show. So thank you guys so much. There's the Streamlabs, the PayPal, the Venmo.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Shane's World says Dave isn't coming back to Compound. No. I'm sorry. If I made you think that, he's coming back to Anthony's show as a guest on Monday. Let me make that very clear. He's doing a show on the Blaze now. If he could come back to Compound and do the Blaze show, that would be, I'm saying for Anthony, that would be a better move because Dave Landau's more popular now than he was when he left Compound.
Well, he's got all the Crowder juice.
Actually, I believe Crowder in the contract stipulated that he gets the juice back after Landau leaves. It's in the contract.
Once it's squozen, he gets the glass.
Crowder, it's funny. I'm almost giddy because I'm excited to find out that Crowder is exactly what I thought he was. Because so many times you build someone up in your head and then you hear how they are and you go, it's not as bad as I thought. Mm-hmm. Crowder is one of those guys where you go, oh my God, he's so see-through that he's exactly like you think he is on the camera.